ghosts, UFOs, alien encounters, and all things paranormal. These are real stories from real people. This is Fear of the Unknown. Welcome to episode 1 of the podcast. I haven't named it properly yet, but it'll appear on the thumbnail. A bit of background, I'm just a guy that just likes to talk a lot of shit, and I like to talk about spooky stuff as well. And can you please not touch that, thank you.
Sorry.
I'm about to introduce my very rude guest.
I'm really sorry, guys.
This is the very first podcast where I'll be talking to people about spooky things and paranormal experiences that they've had. I haven't been really interested in paranormal stuff before, but up until recently, just I don't know. My eyes opened to the world of weird stuff happening to people, and all of a sudden recently I've been remembering all these stories that have happened to myself. Just experiences where unexplained shit happens. And
Can I ask a question?
Shut up, I haven't introduced you yet.
I still have a question.
Okay, go on.
Where do you think that came from?
What came from? Well,
like, just suddenly starting to think about, like, paranormal stuff.
I don't know. I have always found it interesting. Like, it's like morbid fascination stuff. You know? A lot of the time, it all ties in with, like, you know, true crime or... You just want to see weird...
Yes,
you want to see the freak show. But eventually the freak show started, like, at times, the freak show is a bit too real. And you're like, oh, shit, that could actually...
It's actually reality.
That could actually be a real thing. This person doesn't look like they're lying. And I think that's just a lot of fun. And
really, really creepy.
Yeah. And you know what?
It's where you lose sleep at night.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hello.
You having a meeting?
Yeah, it's alright.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's alright.
You're good. Yeah, it's good.
Just
Speaking of weird, okay, this is what... I'm not going to mention names, but my friend is in a cult. And that dude is part of his cult. That just walked in.
Really?
Yeah.
He's in a good dude.
It's a yoga cult, basically.
Yoga's not good for you.
I watched the Bikram, you know Bikram yoga?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched the documentary of that.
Yeah, so apparently Bikram is like a total rapist.
He's a sex pest, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, a lot of people are, like, a lot of yoga places are actually changing the name of Bikram to, like, hot yoga because, Bikram was just, like, this total disgusting dude.
A freak.
Yeah.
Anyway, now's the time I want to introduce my guest.
Oh, you're recording?
Yeah, I'm recording.
Okay.
Illustrator, drummer, what else?
And Sorry, you can cut that out.
I'm not going to cut it out. You're going to have to live with that for the rest of your life. When people Google your name, they're going to hear that. I remember a while ago you were telling me something really, really strange that happened to you as a kid. And I want you to take us back there and explain what happened in your own words.
Okay. So it's probably one of the only scary memories I really remember as a kid. I used to live in, like, this really, really big house. I guess it was kind of like... It kind of looked like a haunted house.
I've been there and it does.
It feels weird, hey, inside. It's really, like, dark. It's a beautiful house. Beautiful,
like
old house.
Old colonial design.
Yeah, like it'd probably be like 1920s at the latest. And my dad built the whole extension on the top in the 80s. So that was all, like, the new area, and that's where all of us kids lived. We all had our bedrooms up there. And
you got 3 brothers, right? You grew up with 3 brothers.
Yeah. So actually we all lived on the top level, and then downstairs was, like, the 1920s original area, and that was, like, the creepiest part. But the thing that happened that was creepy happened upstairs. And what happened basically is I had forgotten to bring something to the car. So I went down to the car.
How
and then
old
I
were you
realized
at this point?
I would have been probably about 7 or 8 because it's before we moved to Sydney. So I would 7 or 8. It was during the summer break, and I was on my way to, like, a kind of, like, kids camp thing. Right. And
special kids.
Yeah, for really, really special kids and like me, when they see like there's a special talent that shines through. And so the thing that what happened is I'd forgotten something. We all went into the car, me and my family, and then I was like, oh, I've forgotten something. So I went back into the house. I ran upstairs and I ran into my room, which was like the furthest room from the stairs. And as soon as I walked into my room, I kind of almost got like the chills. Like I had like a really weird kind of scary feeling where you feel like something's kind of watching you. And it's like that thing where it's like unexplainable, and sometimes it's kind of like a little bit irrational feeling. Anyway, I was trying to find what I was trying to find, can't remember what it was. And all of a sudden, like I was already on a little bit of high alert. And all of a sudden I heard...
It felt spooky.
Because it felt weird, yeah. It just had that, like... And it came out of nowhere. Like, I walked into the room and I just, like, started feeling weird.
Yeah. Did you feel that often?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think, like, I grew up with 3 brothers and, like, especially the oldest one liked to scare me a lot or scare us a lot. So I was always on high alert. So I was on high alert. And all of a sudden I just heard, like, coming from, like, where my cupboard is, this voice, and it pretty much said hello like this. Hello! And it was like the fucking weirdest thing ever. And I remember just turning around and being like, fuck off! Like screaming that at the top of my lungs and just like running out of the room. And...
So you're sure there was no one else in the...
There was no one else in the house.
Everyone was accounted.
Pretty sure there was no one else in the house. I think we were all like out because we were all leaving.
And if you're like in a rush to grab something, like no one would have the time to sort of like, oh, I'm going to quickly hide in... There's
no way that somebody could have like run.
Where did the sound come from?
It came from the cupboard.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like this like really kind of old, I guess kind of scary looking cupboard.
Yeah.
It was like this antique cupboard thing.
We recorded part of our music video in that house, and I remember you opened up the attic just to show us the stairs that go up.
Fuck.
And none of us wanted to go up there.
It's very scary.
And this is like 5 adults.
Yeah, they're in their 30s. Yeah, like
didn't want to go up those stairs.
Oh, it's terrifying.
It's disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
I thought it was a ghost straight away.
Yeah. Ghost.
Just that's the first thing that came to my mind. I don't know if I believe in ghosts. I don't know.
You did a bit of a funny voice though. You went, hello. Did it sound? Yeah. Did it sound like an adult making that sound, or did it sound like a child? Or
well, it was very like cartoonish in a way. So it didn't. It doesn't really sound like a kid. Yeah. It sounded like an adult making that noise. Yeah. It sounded like exactly the way that I said it. It's just like really exaggerated and weird. And after that I was just like, did I just fabricate that in my head, or did Look, what could it actually be?
There's a theory that some people like to say that it is true, I guess, in some cases, maybe. But this is just like an explanation. Some people say that kids have lots of hallucinations and stuff like that. But I don't know. Especially on this podcast, I want to explore, any other possibility. I want to have fun with it because, we're learning a lot of new shit about dimensions and aliens and stuff that we thought was just complete like fantasy previously.
Yeah.
And
well, there was all that stuff that came out with aliens recently.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like all Bob Lazar and...
yeah. Poor dude.
Yeah, unacknowledged, all that sort of stuff. It's sort of confirmed. There's always going to be the skeptical side to it, but, who knows if, this just came to mind. What if, what you experienced is, like, a phenomenon that's happened, a lot of times to a lot of people, and... That's where the story of the boogeyman came from.
Yeah, actually.
Because it sounds like the boogeyman, a voice from the cupboard, when you're alone, when you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, it's really...
I actually feel like it is something that's worth, kind of, Googling to see...
Yeah.
like whether people have experienced the same kind of thing. Because I remember we were talking the other day about like shared. God, what's the word?
Sleep paralysis.
Yeah, the sleep paralysis thing where people kind of have the same experiences, and even like
it's like the same 5 characters.
Yeah,
whatever. So, like,
there's like the shadow.
If you haven't heard of sleep paralysis, it's like you wake up during the night and you can see your whole room like super clearly, but you can't move your body at all. It's like where your mind. It's like where your brain wakes up. Part of your brain wakes up, but part of it still is asleep. The part that keeps you paralyzed. And all around the world, from like tiny villages in Vietnam all the way to sort of modern Western civilization, people throughout time have experienced these encounters with these kind of like strange beings. They're always really dark. It's like either the Shadow Man, the Hat Man, the Night, the Hag. So the hag's like an old lady that sits on your chest, or
oh yeah, that's right. And people feel like a heaviness, don't they?
Yeah, or like a man with a hat.
So I've had like the sleep paralysis that I've had. It's never been like I've had like a shadowy figure, but it's.
Oh, you had sleep paralysis?
Oh, dude, I have sleep paralysis so often. When I used to, like, when I was younger, like when we first met, and we were going to TAFE together, I used to sleep a lot in the afternoon because that's what 20-year-olds do. And I would always have sleep paralysis in the afternoon. And one of the constant ones that I would have would be the feeling of somebody grabbing my feet and pulling my feet. Yeah. Like there was an actual sensation of people grabbing my feet. And it was like the weirdest thing ever because it felt totally real.
And that's a strange thing because I get sleep paralysis, still get sleep paralysis, but like I've never had apart from the one I told you about last week, which I'll probably save for another time. But I've always just been in an empty room, and I feel basically nothing. I just feel super comfortable.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that I'm panicking because I can't move. So that's bizarre. Like I don't understand that. And
so do you feel like you're awake because you kind of because like apparently your mind like takes a photo of the room, right, before you go to sleep?
That's what it feels like.
And so then you kind of like when you're actually asleep, what you're visualizing is your room.
Yeah,
it's like the last thing you saw.
A bit of background to my experience was that I guess when I went to uni. Our final project was about it was an Oculus Rift experience, and I was creating the audio for it, and it was about sleep paralysis. And at the time, I don't know if it was because I wasn't sleeping much because I was like studying so much, but I would have sleep paralysis nearly every day, like every afternoon nap or every time I sleep, I'd have that. And after a while, especially because it was on my mind so much on an intellectual level, on a kind of like, not it wasn't just emotional, it was like a thing I was genuinely interested in. I'd catch myself during these moments of sleep paralysis where I'd sort of analyze it a little bit, like I'd kind of look at how I'm really feeling, and I'd take the time to sort of experiment a bit, like
while you're still asleep.
Yeah, like while I'm in the paralysis. So I'd like,
man, how do you do that?
I'd try to move, and no matter what, even if you think you're moving, you're never moving.
Yeah.
But the one strangest thing is that like before you go to sleep, your mind takes this perfect snapshot that you don't realize that it's taken of the room. So like right now we're in a room like at the Artifactory, and it's full of like tools and trays and labels. Your mind remembers every single one of these details. So during sleep paralysis, your eyes are closed, but you think you're awake because you're looking at all these colours and incredible, like unmistakable details that you wouldn't be able to. So like if you let's say someone asked you to draw the inside of your car, like you wouldn't be able to do it very clearly.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have all the details. You'd be missing out on a bunch of stuff. But this is like perfect snapshot. Yeah. But so one thing, if you suffer from sleep paralysis, for myself, I discovered one trick that guarantees gets you out of it, and that's you don't have control over any other part of your body except for your breathing. And because I heard from some people that you can start breathing really fast in and out, and that can snap you out of it. But what I found is the quickest way is that if you just like hold your breath. You can't take a big deep breath in, it'll be a sort of shallow breath, but you just stop your breathing like in your throat, I guess, like the out of your throat.
See, I would find that really hard to do because when I have it, I instantly go into a panic.
Yeah. And
even if I think about what you've said,
yeah,
I don't think I would be able to do that at all.
Yeah.
It's just like it's such a terrifying feeling, just being like it's almost like so claustrophobic. You feel stuck.
Yeah.
Like
Maybe it's one of those things that just develops over time, like lucid dreaming, where you slowly get a little bit more control over.
Maybe
Yeah, but no.
It takes practice.
But it's incredible, like all these old, like I mean, even dreams is not 100%. Solid, like scientifically known reason why we dream and have the dreams we dream. You know, people find little patterns here and there. You know, and quite often it's like it's interesting how, like, if you dream that you're like losing teeth or some shit, that there's a change happening in your life.
I've had that dream so many times. Yeah.
Or the dream that you're falling. And
yep.
And then you land in your bed with a.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
I get falling and crawling through a tunnel are two things that happen when I have sleep paralysis.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Like in a small tight tunnel.
Oh yeah, like I'm stuck in the tunnel.
Oh,
like
damn.
I can't get out of it because I'm jammed in it. So I ate too many fucking cheeseburgers.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like as I've gotten older, I've sort of developed like claustrophobia as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So stuff like that just messes with me now. Fortunately, I don't have claustrophobic dreams like that, but.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah, it's not.
Like we were talking last week about how like there's so many people that go caving.
Oh, and they get stuck.
They get stuck and they just die there.
Yeah.
Like and I don't know what goes through their heads where they're just like, oh look at this little entrance, I can hear something at the other end. I'm gonna like go head first and shimmy my way through these ancient crevices, hoping that I can get through the other side. Like to me, that's just fucking insane.
Yeah, but I guess they've probably like gone through so many crevices that they've actually fit through before.
Well, they just have the attitude of like, haven't died yet.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, that's the thing. Everyone thinks they're bloody invincible.
Yeah.
Like, and it just takes something like that. Seriously. Like, I remember there was that dude that like, it's probably happened to quite a lot actually, but there was that dude that went diving under, I think I told you this last week as well. There was that dude that went diving underneath in the water, and there was a cave or a crevice within a rock that people would swim through and film it, and I think he did it and he got stuck in it and died.
Just drowned.
Yeah. Got stuck and that was it.
What a nightmare.
Pretty much. And that's like the most terrifying thing. You don't want to do shit like that in the ocean. You don't want to fuck with the ocean, seriously.
I think like adrenaline must be such a powerful drug.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen people like free climbing?
And Instagram. Because they're filming it for Instagram, like.
Like people free climbing. And it's just some like little skinny dude just like putting chalk in my hand in my back pocket. And they're climbing up like a 45-degree angle rock
like a
overhang.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just like, I'm going to find a way to put my hand... Like, I'd just be losing my mind the whole time. I don't know how you can not be thinking about the danger.
Or
that's just one tiny little rock crumble away.
Yeah, I know.
That's fucked up.
Like, and there was also like there's a lot of like Russians that do it. They go and like climb like telephone.
Those aerials and
the
stuff.
aerials and stuff like that, or like massive buildings and have like no safety gear at all, and they've got their phones out.
They hang with one hand.
Oh man, it's just like what? Like man, like you're gonna feel so good afterwards if you're still alive, but it's.
I feel anger when I watch those videos.
Yeah.
I'm like, how dare you put me through this discomfort?
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's just. Yeah.
Anyway, Sophia and I, the way we met was through like an art school, really cheap course, I guess. What's the international word for what we did? Like community college?
Yeah, I guess it was community college. Yeah.
So we did this art course, and it was in a abandoned prison. So
Amazing.
all the classrooms were prison cells, and it was crazy. It was such a crazy.
Didn't you have like a kind of weird ghost experience there?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
but heaps
who
of people talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember being there a few times at night time and just not feeling good.
Spooky.
Hell spooky.
But I think a lot of that had to do with just the way it looked. It's like this limestone that has just been like roughly cut and painted over.
Yeah.
The floorboards were just ancient floorboards that have been walked over by a million different prisoners and
and then like the whole building is surrounded by 20-foot limestone wall or something that's got like barbed wire around it, and
that place had a lot of history. Like there was a couple of riots, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I remember taking a tour before I went there as a kid. I took a tour, and the tour guide was one of the guards, and he had like this melted hand that he showed everyone.
Oh,
it was like a claw.
Hang on, what was he a prisoner?
No, he was one of the prison guards. Did I say prisoner?
No, I think I just thought that because he had a claw and like I thought it happened in a prison fight.
Yeah, they set the place on fire and now he just tours people through.
Yeah.
With this one
Wasn't Eric Edgar Cook the last guy that was hung there as well? That's a famous serial killer, Australian serial killer.
Yeah, I don't know.
All of you out there.
What did he do apart from kill people? Did he do it in an interesting way?
So he was this dude that this was like in the 60s, the 1960s in Perth. He was born into a family where his dad was really abusive, abused his mother, and then eventually started abusing him. He got bullied a lot because he had a cleft palate, and he had like lots of surgeries and stuff, but they never went right. So he had like a speech impediment. So he was bullied. His parents just treated him like shit. He ended up going through the foster system, and he just ended up being like just hell fucked up from it. Killed a whole bunch of people, raped a whole bunch of people. I think there was a little bit of necrophilia in there. Nice. And then he ended up at Fremantle prison, and I'm pretty sure I even feel like he was the last person hung in Australia. Yeah. So that place has a lot of history.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever do the thing where they take you to the room of nails? It's like they have these like huge nails that have been rivets or nails that have been like pounded into the wall all over because they tried to make an escape-proof room for this one guy that kept escaping.
Oh, no.
So their only way to do that was to nail every kind of possible surface down.
Oh,
and he still found a way to like remove the nails, and he was just really meticulous.
And so he got out?
I don't know exactly, but
the only room that I remember there is the room that all the like the MDF boards and all the like art supplies were kept, and it was like apparently the torture room.
Yeah,
for prisoners, and it was like this tiny, maybe like 2 meters wide by like 5 meters, and it was painted bright yellow. And I think it was painted bright yellow to make people go insane.
Wow.
Like apparently, like if you're in like a bright room in a confined space for like weeks, it just sends you absolute.
I've heard about similar stuff to that where they put a neon light in a room with you and. They surround you with neon lights, so you have no sense of shadow or your spatial awareness just.
Oh, that's horrible.
Goes and you go crazy.
Yeah.
I know another room that you remember there.
Oh yes, Book of Boob Sex. That was amazing. What a talented bastard whoever painted that.
Yeah. So like it was one day after class, I guess, and I was like, hey, let's go explore because there's heaps of places where you're not allowed to go, but they just don't lock up. So, like...
Oh, they don't care.
Thinking about it now, like, we could have accidentally locked ourselves into a room.
They've never been found.
But,
it's terrifying.
So what happened? We walked through we went to the no-go zone, and we walked through a series of these metal gates, and we're like, it's kind of like almost like a labyrinth of these metal gates that we're walking through.
Yeah, they were weird, weren't they? Yeah.
And we popped our head into a few of the old prison cells, and they weren't part of any tour. They were just rooms that weren't touched. They were just ignored, I guess.
And they were weird because, well, from what I remember, and my memory is a little bit hazy, they almost felt like they were outside. Like, don't you reckon?
Outside?
Yeah, like as in like they were kind of half open, like almost like an animal cage.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, kind of exposed to the outside in a way.
Yeah, kind of. They
that
look
could
like
just be my memory.
Well, they seem to have a different purpose to the other prison cells.
Yeah, they were different.
It's like maybe they were closer to the security, like the guards, the guard houses and stuff.
Yeah.
Sure. But yeah, as you walk through, their prison cells are right there, and some of them had like really interesting artwork in it. And so
that's a really nice way of putting it.
But some of them were like, you know, Roman chariots and like really artistic stuff. And so Sophia and I walk into this room, and there's nothing really, like, there's a few paintings around, but above the doorway was this amazing drawing of like,
oh, it's fantastic.
There's like fruit and vegetables and like this just abundance.
It was painted, right?
Yeah, painted. Yeah, like a classic style.
Yeah, like very detailed, kind of like like oranges and like it was kind of like all these
had
fruits,
goblets and candles and stuff.
Yeah.
And there was this leather-bound book that was drawn, and it's like, and we're just going, that's so cool. And then I took a closer look at the spine of the book, and it said, "The Book of Boob Sex." I wonder if it was a real book that he actually, you know, wrote.
I don't understand. Like, yeah.
That took away the spookiness a bit.
Because I hear of like prisoners drawing like nude chicks and stuff on their walls and tits to have like kind of like material to have a good time with, but like that was just kind of like a bit, I don't know.
It was
weird
he must have been the most artistic motherfucker because it was so implied, you know.
Yeah,
he's a classy dude. He doesn't have to have like, you know, boobs on his wall. He has his imagination.
Yes,
he has his novel that
he doesn't need the internet.
He's got this like tome of a book that he's just like memorized with like 1,001 techniques. Oh man,
it's like the Kama Sutra.
Yeah,
but yeah, like the painting was like it was almost kind of like a Renaissance style kind of like painting style. Like it was amazing.
Yeah, he brought in a little camera obscura. Do you remember that?
No.
Camera obscura. It's like one of the first during the what's that Italian period? The one that was really famous. It's just basically when like Italian and French art exploded, and there was a way of cheating.
It wasn't the Nenes? Renaissance?
Yeah, Renaissance.
Yeah, the Renaissance.
Yeah, the Nenes. And so what they'd do is that they'd put up a wall on one side of the room, and they'd get a big lens, and they'd get people to stand there on the other side, you know, posed, and an upside down image would be projected.
Reflected, yeah.
It would be projected onto the wall behind the lens,
like as a silhouette, kind of shadow.
Yeah, but it would be in colour. It would be just like a projector.
Yeah.
And so they would like paint it meticulous, and they'd get the light perfect because they're just tracing. So all of a sudden there were these, but the only catch was that they couldn't make them big. They were only like the size of like A4 paper.
Okay.
And sometimes they tried to sort of like do techniques where they sort of stitch it together, but the perspectives all out and stuff. They've kind of measured it, but yeah, the camera obscura is like a way of cheating that got
those cheeky little bastards.
Cheeky little Italian bastards.
Yeah, bloody hell.
Anyway, I think that's enough for episode 1. Thanks for joining me. And
thanks for having me. It's been a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
That was good. That was fun.
You've been listening to the Fear of the Unknown podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media with all links in the description.